After everything she has lived through, a woman understands that time teaches more than any advice. Years of experience have made her selective, serene, and firm in her choices. And there are times when being alone is not the consequence of abandonment, but the fruit of wisdom. She no longer clings to other people's expectations, nor does she look for acceptance in every face she meets. She has learned that silence is a gift, not a punishment. While many still fear being alone, she feels at home in her own presence. Her strength lies not in the number of people around her, but in the steadiness with which she walks without needing anyone to validate her steps. For her, solitude is not emptiness. It's freedom, it's clarity, it's peace. It's the certainty that living well with herself is the greatest asset she has achieved throughout her life. True independence doesn't come suddenly. It is formed little by little, honed by experiences, shaped by the choices that only maturity allows you to make. A woman who has lived long enough has understood that no one builds her life for her. What she has was earned with effort. What she is was shaped by the joys and pains she faced alone. Over the years, she has learned that trusting herself is not just an option, it's a necessity. She has faced days when support didn't come, when she had to stand up without hands outstretched. And in those moments she discovered her strength. She didn't look for blame, she didn't wait for rescue. She did what needed to be done, with the calm of someone who knows that depending on others is risky, but trusting in your own ability is safe. Each challenge she overcame alone became a foundation, and these foundations sustain her life to this day. Over time, she stopped living to please. She no longer feels the pressure to be what others expect. She has understood that trying to meet other people's expectations is a path that leads to frustration. Today she makes decisions for herself, with awareness and serenity. You don't rush, you don't move away from what you feel. Each step is taken with purpose, without fear of making mistakes, because she trusts her own judgment. This autonomy is not arrogance. It's the fruit of courage, of long nights, of solitary choices, of not giving up when everything seemed uncertain. She has built her freedom, and that freedom is not in words, but in the peace of mind she feels when she wakes up and knows she is her own boss. She doesn't need validation or constant approval. She knows that what she carries inside has value, and that's enough. Her independence doesn't mean the absence of ties, but the ability to choose them. You're with who you want to be with, not who you need to be with to feel complete. And this lightness of not being dependent is what keeps her firm, calm, and free. After all, she understood that life is better when lived with awareness, and this awareness is the source of her true strength. Over time, she realized that society will always have a standard to impose, an expectation to meet, a showcase to display. They exalt popularity, numbers, social gatherings, as if life only had value when there was applause and constant movement. But she has lived long enough not to be fooled by this. She knows that noise doesn't guarantee peace, and that being surrounded by many people doesn't mean being in good company. Today, she chooses silence over noise, depth over appearance, essence over spectacle. She no longer feels the need to be present everywhere, nor does she seek to be remembered by everyone. She prefers to live real moments with a real presence, rather than collecting empty commitments. She has learned that less is more, and that the quality of her experiences is more valuable than the quantity of interactions. She doesn't cling to ties that suffocate, nor does she maintain relationships that only exist out of convenience. She has freed herself from the obligation to please, to live up to standards that make no sense to her. If she is alone, it is because she has chosen this space for herself. And if she allows someone to be with her, it's because there's affinity, truth, soul. Superficiality no longer attracts her. Time has taught her that true relationships are rare and therefore precious. Your path doesn't need to be understood by others. She doesn't seek approval, nor does she worry about explaining her choices. It's enough that what she lives is aligned with what she feels. Her peace comes from this internal coherence, this harmony between what she thinks, feels, and does. And because she lives this way, she remains light, without masks, without unnecessary obligations, without the burden of having to be what she is not. The authenticity she cultivates wasn't something she always had. It was built, step by step, as she allowed herself to listen more to herself and less to the world. And that's how she discovered that true freedom doesn't lie in doing what everyone else does, but in living according to her own truth. In this choice, she found not only peace, but also strength. A quiet, silent strength that keeps her firm, even when the world goes in the other direction. She has seen many people go. She has experienced moments surrounded by voices, and others in which silence was her only company. In all these phases, she has learned a valuable lesson. You can't build peace on what is unstable. That's why she isn't shaken by absences or disoriented when someone leaves. Her peace doesn't depend on who arrives or stays, because it was built within her. Solid, silent, real. Life has taught her to stand firm, even when everything around her seems to be falling apart. Each challenge, each fall, each solitary restart has shaped a strength that doesn't need the spotlight. She doesn't seek recognition because she has understood that living with integrity is the best answer. She doesn't need to explain her choices or prove that she is strong. Her story speaks for itself, a story of discreet overcoming, of victories that few have seen, but which have brought her this far. Being self-sufficient isn't about closing yourself off from the world. It's knowing that whatever happens, she'll be able to move on. Not out of pride, but out of maturity. She has already waited for support and not received it. She's needed understanding and not found it. And instead of rebelling, she decided to be the support she needed. She became her own foundation, and today she doesn't live waiting for someone to save her. Not because she doesn't believe in people, but because she learned that depending on others made her vulnerable, and she chose to be free. This freedom is not the absence of ties, but the possibility of choosing who to be with, without needing to, just out of affinity and truth. She walks alongside those who respect her space, her history, and her way of seeing life. She doesn't cling to those who demand, charge, or invade. Her relationships are made up of sincere exchanges, not disguised dependencies. The firmness with which she lives today didn't come easily. It was earned. That's why she values every step taken with awareness, every day lived with serenity. Her self-sufficiency is a reflection of time, of the experiences that have demanded her strength, clarity, and balance. Today, she is complete, not because she has everything, but because she is enough. And this feeling of fullness is proof that, over time, she has found within herself everything she needs. Over the years, she has discovered that solitude is not a burden, but a rare gift. Amid the hustle and bustle of the world, she realized that silence is the only place where she can clearly hear her own voice. When everything slows down and external demands cease, that's where she finds herself. And when she really listens to herself, she finds direction. She finds peace, it finds purpose. Many people avoid this space because they don't want to face what they carry inside. They fear confronting their memories, their flaws, their fears. Not her. She's been down this road before. She's faced the shadows that haunted her. She's looked into the eyes of the pain that tried to silence her. And she hasn't just faced it all. She's grown with every step she's taken in the midst of silence. Loneliness doesn't make her sad, because it's not synonymous with abandonment. It's a choice to turn inward, to take care of what she feels, to strengthen what is essential. Away from the noise, away from the pressures that tried to shape her, she found space to renew herself. She didn't have to hide from the world, but she chose not to lose herself in it. And it was in this intimate and calm space that she evolved, without haste, without imposition. This growth was not driven by necessity, but by freedom. When there is no longer any obligation to please, when you are free from constant comparison, a new kind of strength emerges. A strength that doesn't depend on approval, but on the peace that comes from walking in harmony with who you are. She learned that real value doesn't come from outside. It comes from the relationship she has built with herself, a relationship of respect, care, and truth. For her, solitude is not the absence of life, but full life. It's the moment when she can think clearly, feel deeply, and act with awareness. And that is freedom. Freedom not to explain herself, not to adjust, not to lose herself. Growing up now is no longer about adapting to others. It's about going deeper into oneself, discovering new paths within one's own being, and walking them with serenity. By choosing her own company, she has given herself a gift, the opportunity to be whole. And it is in this wholeness that she finds her true strength. After everything she has lived through, she has understood that trying to please everyone is an endless and pointless path. For a long time, she tried to fit in, to follow what was expected, to keep quiet about what she felt in order to maintain harmony. But this quest for acceptance cost her dearly. Each concession took her a little further away from herself, until the moment came when she said enough was enough. No more trying to match up, no more carrying expectations that weren't hers. Today, she lives lightly, not because life has become easier, but because she has chosen to free herself from the burden of trying to be perfect for others. She no longer feels the need to impress, nor does she force herself to follow standards that don't reflect her truth. The freedom you have gained is internal. It lies in being who you are, with honesty, simplicity, and courage. And this freedom is worth more than any passing approval. She doesn't seek to be accepted, because she has already accepted herself. Her choices, her preferences, her way of seeing the world don't need to be understood. They just need to make sense to her. And when you live with this clarity, criticism loses its force. The judgment of others no longer has the power to shake you. Her security comes from within, from the respect she cultivates for herself, and the peace she feels when she walks in coherence with her values. Being honest with herself is what sets her free. It frees you to say yes only when you feel like it, and no without guilt when necessary. It frees you to move away from environments that drain your energy, from people who don't respect your space. It frees you to live at your own pace, without the anxiety of meeting other people's expectations, without the need to mold yourself to fit in. She no longer needs to be seen, remembered, or applauded. She just needs to be at peace with herself, and that she has achieved. By letting go of the effort to please, she has found time and space for what really matters. Living authentically, with serenity. And this serenity is priceless. It's the fruit of conscious choices, the courage to be different, and the maturity not to get lost in comparisons. By letting go of external expectations, she found something that for years seemed far away: lightness. Lightness to live, to feel, to be. Over the years, she has learned to look at relationships through different eyes. She's had moments when she sought company just to avoid being alone, and paid the price for it. She felt the weight of being surrounded by people who didn't understand her, who didn't add to her, who were only there for convenience. And that's how she discovered loneliness isn't what hurts. What hurts is being accompanied and feeling empty. Today, she doesn't close herself off from the world, but she doesn't give herself away out of need either. She doesn't get involved on impulse, nor does she seek a presence just to fill time. If someone adds up, if they bring peace and truth, they stay. If not, she lets them go, without resentment or drama. She has understood that not everything that is lost is loss. Sometimes it's liberation. Your energy is now something you preserve. She doesn't give it away without discretion, nor does she waste it on relationships that steal her peace of mind. She prefers the silence of her own company to the hustle and bustle of relationships that demand more than they offer. She doesn't seek many, she seeks truth. A few by her side, if sincere, are enough, because she has lived long enough to know that quantity is no guarantee of connection, and that true bonds are rare and therefore valuable. She doesn't fear loneliness because she chooses it. She chooses to be alone when necessary, without feeling lesser for it. And when she allows someone to be with her, it's because there is purpose, respect, and affinity. Relationships for her are not a necessity, but a conscious choice. She's not with someone to feel whole because she already feels complete on her own. This insight brings her peace. She doesn't suffer for keeping her distance from people who don't respect her. She doesn't feel guilty for saying no to relationships that no longer make sense. You understand that true connection doesn't require constant effort, nor does it nullify your essence. On the contrary, it strengthens, inspires, and welcomes. She walks alongside those who understand that presence is not an invasion, that affection is not a demand, that love is not dependence. And because she is clear about this, she lives lightly. She knows that she doesn't need many, she needs meaning, and when she finds it, she appreciates it. But if she doesn't find it, she goes on calmly. Because the most faithful companion she has is herself, and that never leaves her. Life has already brought her challenges that many cannot imagine. She has experienced loss, faced moments when everything seemed to fall apart, gone through situations that demanded more of her than she thought she had, and yet she didn't give in. Not because it was easy, but because there was no other choice, but to carry on. In many of those moments there was no one to reach out to, and that's when she understood. Relying on others is uncertain, but relying on yourself is safe. She never expected to be saved. She learned early on that sometimes she only had her own strength to lean on, and over time that strength grew. Not in a noisy way, not as something that needs to be shown to the world, but as a silent foundation that sustains her in any circumstance. It has fallen more than once, but it has risen every time, and each time it has stood up, it has become even firmer. She doesn't need heroes because she has become her own foundation. The resilience he carries is not in his words, but in his actions, in the calmness with which she faces adversity, in the way she feels pain without allowing it to dominate her. She doesn't deny what she feels, but neither does she give in to what weakens her. She learns, matures, and moves on. She always does. Her emotional strength was built up over time. She wasn't born ready-made. She gained it day after day. And today she is not easily shaken. What used to knock her down now barely knocks her off balance, not because she doesn't feel it, but because she knows that everything passes and that her essence is stronger than any storm. Those who have lived through so much understand that true strength is not made up of grand gestures, but of constancy. It's keeping going even when everything invites you to give up. It's maintaining your dignity in times of pain. It's not losing your essence in adversity. That's what resilience is, a quiet firmness, built on reality, sustained by experience. She is solid because she had to be, because life demanded it, and because above all she chose to be. After everything, she understood. Being alone was never weakness. It was a choice, the choice to live lightly, to preserve her peace, to not depend on anyone to feel good. She discovered that throughout her life, presences come and go, but the only constant has always been herself. And it is in this presence, quiet, firm, conscious, that she has found what many seek outside, fulfillment. For her, solitude is not a burden, but a space where she flourishes, a space where she can be who she is without having to adjust, justify, or mold herself. Her peace comes from this freedom, to choose silence, to follow her own rhythm, to live simply, truthfully, and serenely. She no longer expects to be understood by everyone, because she has already understood herself. She no longer seeks to be completed, because she already feels whole. And this feeling of wholeness is the greatest gift she has earned over time. A woman who walks like this doesn't need to prove anything. She just needs to exist with the dignity of someone who has learned to be enough. If the world calls her lonely, it doesn't matter, because she found everything she needed in her own company, and that's enough. If this reflection made sense to you, enjoy the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to receive more stories and reflections like this one. That way, you won't miss out on any new content. Take care and see you next time.